1. Keep me on 26 Terrace. Guys, he's running back. He's running back.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Police Beat, the show that takes you inside the Gainesville Police Department. I'm Officer Ben Tobias, the spokesman for GPD, and I'll be your host for today's show. To my right is Sergeant Sharna Sen, who will be your co-host for today.
Thanks, Ben. On today's episode of Police Beat, you'll see three very different topics. We will ride along with one of our newer officers, talk about how Gainesville officers are learning more advanced medical skills, and hear the story of one of our canines that soon will be retiring.
Think about when you started your job. Your first day, first month, and even first year learning your career was a very stressful time. Cops had a first day too. While we underwent a lot of training in real-world scenarios, nothing can prepare you for actually hitting the streets in a shiny new uniform with a gun on your side. Officer Cassandra Ballinger is one of our newest officers, and she has been able to apply her skills and training to very good use on Gainesville streets. Recently, the Police Beat crew followed Officer Ballinger for a day in the life of a new police officer.
I'm Officer Cassandra Ballinger with the Gainesville Police Department. I work Zone Echo. I worked at the Gainesville Police Department now for 7 months. I've been in Gainesville for 5 years. I came up here as a UF student. We responded to a suspicious person called in by Walmart staff. A person was sitting in the parking lot behind the wheel of a vehicle. They observed the person huffing chemical inhalants from a duster can. Then he passed out behind the wheel, and I guess his head kept hitting the horn, and that's what alerted Walmart staff to him and that he might need medical attention. Alpha Alpha X-ray Echo 58, and the male subject does appear to be passed out.
10-4 Echo Echo 58.
Sir, open the vehicle. Okay. Hello.
I'm opening.
Officer Manager of the Gainesville Police Department. We got a call. Some concern about you. Passed out behind the wheel, kept hitting the horn.
Oh yeah, I was frustrated.
Okay, what's going on today?
I was kicked out of my house.
Okay. So you're hanging out in the Walmart parking lot?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have an ID on you, sir?
Yeah.
How are you feeling today? Do you need medical attention?
No.
Are you sure about that? Because I walked up, you were passed out.
I was leaning over.
I was at your car for quite a while, sir. I'm gonna have medical check you out, is that okay? I observed several cans in the front seat compartment and a couple in the back seat. There were 11 cans in total located inside the vehicle. So how long have you been sitting in the parking lot?
A day.
A day? You've been literally parked here for a whole day? Made contact with him and talked to him for a little bit, and I guess he'd just been kicked out of his house and kind of going through a little bit of depression and upset over being kicked out and having to sleep in his vehicle. He'd been in the vehicle for 24 hours and was just hanging out in the Walmart parking lot. When we came up, he was completely passed out. I had to knock on the window a couple times to get him to, and then he couldn't figure out how to unlock the truck for a little bit, so. Based on the statements that he made and the fact that he had consumed 11 dusting canisters within a 24-hour period and advised that he wanted to commit suicide, or that his purpose behind doing that is because he wanted to die, we were able to Baker Act him and hopefully get him some help. So we took him to the nearest receiving facility, and hopefully he'll spend some time there and be able to talk to a counselor and get back on the right track. He huffed all this in 24 hours. Fortunately, it was a misdemeanor, not a felony, so that gave us a little bit more leeway. If it had been a felony charge, we have to take him to jail, and then the jail staff can evaluate on there. But because it was a misdemeanor, we did have a little bit of leeway of what we could do. Taking someone to jail isn't always the best course of action. I mean, you commit a crime, you go to jail, but at the same time, we're here, we want to help the citizens of Gainesville. We want to help them improve their lives. And he's just going through really bad depression, and getting him mental health would be a better option for him as far as to get him on the track to being a contributing member of society and being happy again. And we want to increase the quality of their life. There's a couple options for different situations that we have where if we feel that this is going to better help the citizen than just throwing him in jail for the night, then that's an option for us. But it isn't an option for every crime. So there is the Alachua County Crisis Center, a 1-800 number suicide hotline that they can get in contact with. You can contact any medical facility for help. If you're feeling suicidal, contact the police at any time. It's a hard line between to enforce the laws and keeping everyone safe, because we have those laws for a reason, and still making people happy. Because people don't like when we enforce laws sometimes. But fortunately, like I said, we've had a lot of positive feedback from the community recently, which, yeah, we greatly appreciate it. You guys want some stickers? Yeah. That's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to better Gainesville for everyone within it.
GPD is proud to have talented men and women like Officer Ballinger to patrol the city and keep us safe. When Police Beat comes back, we show you how GPD officers are capable of rendering some advanced medical skills directly from their police cars. We'll be right back.
Burglaries and robberies have become serious concerns in our city. This crime is referred to as a crime of opportunity because most criminals look for the path of least resistance. Protect yourself, don't become a target, lock your doors, and keep expensive items out of plain view.
For crime prevention information, go to GainesvillePD.org or call the Gainesville Police Department's Crime Prevention Office at 334-2479. Protect yourself, don't become a target.
At 13, you decided to be a rock star. At 16, you decided to be a quarterback. At 25, you married the girl of your dreams. So when did you decide to become a sex predator? It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you've achieved. Download sexual images of children or entice a minor online, and you have committed a serious federal crime. You will go to prison, and it will ruin your life. Exploiting a minor is a major offense.
Gainesville police officers are first responders to many calls that involve injuries. We have cars on the road 24 hours a day. Even though the fire and rescue departments have lightning fast response times, sometimes our officers are only seconds away from a call. Our officers receive limited medical training in the police academy, but one of our lieutenants realized that we have the capability to provide much more advanced care. GPD Lieutenant Dan Stout, who is also a paramedic, pioneered GPD's Tactical Casualty Combat Care program. This program provides critical injury, life-saving training and equipment to GPD's officers. We will warn you that this segment does include some lifelike training scenarios with simulated severe injuries and blood, so viewer discretion is advised.
My name is Dan Stout. I'm a lieutenant here at the Gainesville Police Department. I've been here about 21 years. In addition to being a certified law enforcement officer, I'm also a paramedic certified here in the state of Florida and served for 14 years on our SWAT team, mainly as the medic. Here at the Gainesville Police Department, all of our officers, as part of their basic police recruit curriculum, have completed a first aid course mandated by the state. They can deal with a wide array of regular routine medical emergencies, as well as injured persons.
You're doing fine.
There you go. We are all CPR certified through the American Heart Association. And additionally, all of our personnel have received additional training and additional equipment specifically to deal with very traumatic injuries. Our trauma kit program here at the Gainesville Police Department is based on what is known as Tactical Combat Casualty Care, which is the military's modality for dealing with traumatic injuries on the battlefield.
My name is John Slish, emergency medical physician at University of Florida Shands Health System. I'm a reserve officer for the Gainesville Police Department, for which I also operate as a SWAT team physician. What we're able to provide there on the street is so much more advanced than what you had just 5-10 years ago. And Columbine kind of opened everybody's eyes to it. Then you had Aurora, then you had, multiple school shootings. Kind of everybody now has to pay attention to the fact that bad things happening to good people in good places. So we need to be able to take that medicine to them.
The program started in the fall of 2007. 2007 was a particularly very bad year for law enforcement, a significant jump in the number of police officers killed that year. Our chief at the time formed a committee of everybody that is involved in training and said, is it a training issue? Is it an equipment issue? What can we better do to protect and equip our officers to respond to these situations? We revisited good tactical training. We upgraded different aspects of our weaponry at the Gainesville Police Department. My contribution to that was we have this program contained at that time on SWAT. At the time I was a paramedic on the SWAT team. All of the members of the SWAT team were trained and equipped, and my suggestion was we take it outside of just the parameters of SWAT and take it agency-wide so that every single officer is equipped and trained to be able to have this capacity.
This was just not even thought of. It was unheard of back then, and EMS was always behind a yellow tape until law enforcement had cleared the scene, and what we realized is you're losing a lot of people during that downtime. And I think that's what kind of sparked Dan's interest in this. He became a paramedic on his own, and being a sworn law enforcement officer, he recognized the fact that police officers are often the first person on that scene. And I knew that from my decade of experience down in Marion County. Came up here and realized, well, I need to kind of close that loop, go through the police academy, get myself sworn, and take this forward and continue the torch that he's kind of lit.
This is beyond classroom and beyond PowerPoint. This training that we give our personnel is very hands-on, a lot of repetition. We conduct stress-induced scenario training. I work part-time for a private military contractor that teaches this to our United States military, and I definitely bring some of that aspect to this training to make it as realistic as we possibly can. I have access to mannequins that can simulate pretty gruesome injuries and bleed effectively, and when the officers enter the scenarios, by God, I'm not saying pretend this guy is bleeding, he's actually bleeding, and they get in, and if they do it correctly, the guy quits bleeding. If they do it incorrectly, the guy continues to bleed. And it's not an easy scenario to go through. A lot of them have told me afterwards, man, my God, that was the most amazing scenario I've been a part of. More importantly, when I hear back from those officers who've gone through the training and then either 6 months, a year and a half later, actually use the trauma kit on the road, they come back to me and say, man, that training that you put us through, that made all the difference in the world because I was calm. It was just like you said it would be. And that I'm very proud of them because they're going into these scenarios confident and prepared and not hesitating and making good critical decisions.
So Iraq and Afghanistan are very difficult things for most people to face, but the reality is in the conflict of war, you learn a lot of lessons if you're paying attention, and TCCC advancements have been incredible and how they've changed how we manage things. So you look at September 11th when it occurred and how we respond to those incidents now.
2 years ago, we got a very nice donation from Shands Hospital. They purchased the remaining 35 kits that we needed to finish staffing and fully equipping all of our officers. So every officer, whether they're in a marked unit, an unmarked unit, a uniformed capacity, a plainclothes capacity, every single officer now has this equipment and training. This big bag is the bag that I carried when I was on the SWAT team. It's got a lot of different equipment in it. A huge array of capabilities. This is not what we're talking about every officer walking around town on. This is actually the size of the kit, and it's either on the cage of the patrol car, or a lot of the officers wear it on their TAC vest. The SWAT team wears it on their vest, and it contains 4 simple components. The first one inside is a prefab tourniquet. This is a Special Operations Forces tourniquet. Very, very effective in dealing with major life-threatening bleeds to either the arms or the legs. And this is what we train our folks. If that's the mechanism of injury and it is a life-threatening arterial bleed, this is what we go to first. The second component that's in there is what's called a hemostatic agent, combat gauze. This is a dried gauze that has a chemical compound in it that helps the blood coagulate and form clots, and very, very efficient for helping deal with traumatic bleeds that we cannot get a tourniquet on. So something in, say, the pelvis, or the abdomen, or the side of the neck, something of that nature. Very, very good stuff. We have an Asherman chest seal for dealing with sucking chest wounds, any type of penetrating trauma to the upper torso. Helps seal that up and keeps the lungs from collapsing. And then lastly, a good military-grade trauma bandage. Instead of opening up a bunch of different little 4x4 pads and things like that that aren't absorbent, we've got one good bandage that we can open up and be very effective with. We are law enforcement officers first. Our job is to respond and tactically get a situation under control.
So I'm what's considered to be a tactical medical operator, and Dan Stout kind of pioneered this entire concept in this county. Basically, I'm an operator for the SWAT team until there's a medical need. Once there's a medical need, I shift gears and change over to the medical role, provided that the scene is safe enough to deploy that, and that would be the situation in any scene.
That time from when it's secure to when EMS finally gets there, that's that window of opportunity where we're getting in and making a difference.
So who do the SWAT medics and physicians treat on scene? Everybody. You know, if it's the bad guy that shot, he's going to get treatment too, and that may cause some people to curl their lip, but the reality is that's the expectation, and that's why we're there, and that's why we do it. We don't choose who we're going to treat. If someone's injured on that scene, whether it be the law enforcement officer, a civilian, or the bad guy, everybody's going to get some medicine on that scene.
The big thing, regardless of the mechanism of injury, how a person gets injured, these tools, these tactics, this equipment, this mental approach to dealing with an injured person is applicable whether you're overseas or you're here in the United States, whether it is truly law enforcement related or if it's just a horrible accident.
We've got help coming. Stay with me, buddy.
I've spent a lot of time both in travel and on the phone and via the internet helping other agencies get their trauma kit programs started up and in effect. And you can see them taking off around the country. Pima County Sheriff's Office out in Arizona had fully trained and deployed their agency 6 months before the shooting that took place that killed 6 people, and the Congresswoman Gabby Giffords was shot by the gunman. The deputies that responded physically treated 6 patients. All 6 of the patients that they treated that day survived that incident, and they were credited with keeping that incident, as traumatic as it was, from being worse. There was an officer killed in another state a number of years ago, and in review of that incident, I'm pretty sure that had that officer had, that agency had this training, had that equipment, very strong likelihood that officer should still be here, and that breaks my heart. There was a little girl in that state that her father was friends with that officer that was killed. And this little girl, she was about 10 or 11, she wanted to do something to help honor her father's friend. Well, this little girl got on the internet and did research wanting to know, what could I do? And she found some previous press articles about the Gainesville Police Department Trauma Kit program, and to date, this girl has raised over $40,000 to donate over 400 trauma kits to law enforcement officers in the state where that officer was killed. Between the Gainesville Police Department and local law enforcement agencies in this area, we've deployed the kits 38 times, and they've been successful 32 out of 38 times. All of them involving traumatic, potentially life-threatening injuries: gunshot wounds, knife wounds, ejections, amputations, self-mutilation, industrial accidents, you name it, it's run the gamut.
It's an amazing thing because, you have the cases, he's got 38, we know we have 32 saves out of it. Working in an emergency room, I can tell you that is, you can't put a price on that value, and what you can bring to the community at large is tremendous. You really can't put a value on that. It feels very good.
These folks are still here because of the efforts of the Gainesville Police Department as far as getting in and dealing with their injuries. Had they not received that treatment from our personnel, without that intervention at that time, those folks would have died.
We certainly thank Doc Slish for volunteering his time serving the community as a reserve police officer in addition to his medical talents. Gainesville is very lucky to have someone like him who is so committed to our community. When Police Beat comes back, we wish one of our oldest canines a happy retirement.
Burglaries and robberies have become serious concerns in our city. This crime is referred to as a crime of opportunity because most criminals look for the path of least resistance. Protect yourself. Don't become a target, lock your doors, and keep expensive items out of plain view.
For crime prevention information, go to GainesvillePD.org or call the Gainesville Police Department's Crime Prevention Office at 334-2479. Protect yourself. Don't become a target.
You don't think it's going to happen.
I was just thinking, wow, I could have been killed.
If I can help it, you're not going to die when I'm driving.
Guys, he's running back east.
our next segment, we're going to show you a very special GPD canine, one that has been faithfully serving Gainesville for over 8 years. Canine Justice is our oldest dog, and with his handler, Officer Charles Owens, they make up the most veteran canine team at the department. We took a ride with Officer Owens and Justice to look back at their time together and talk about what's next for them. Let's take a look.
Been on the canine unit since September 2006, and I'm currently the unit trainer. I'm the handler of Canine Justice, and he's right around 10 and a half years old. He's been with me for right around 8 and a half years. I got him when he was 17 months old. We went through our initial school together, and ever since he's been with me in the back of the car, and we've been answering calls in the city of Gainesville. It's getting to the time that it's time for his retirement. He's actually retiring on March 20th of this year. He's still got the ability, mentally he's there. It's just the physical part of it that's really starting to go down. And, you know, we work 10-hour shifts, so, you know, we go on a busy night, we could do 8, 9, 10 calls where they're actually really getting, you know, out there and they're running around, they're jumping, they're doing stuff like that. And I started to see where, you know, it would take longer for him to recover from that. It's not that I don't feel that he couldn't protect me right now still, but it's getting to that point where, you know, he'd rather be at home laying on the couch than he would actually out here, you know, assisting me do my jobs. I know without a shadow of doubt that that dog has my back. This dog is always with me. I mean, he's always there. If I need him, he's gonna be there. If he needs to come out of the car, he's gonna come out of the car and help me. You know, if I do a traffic stop or if I'm out on a call and I don't have him out, I know that he's paying attention to what I'm doing through the car windows. And if he needs to come out, he'll come out and he'll help me. So, you know, it's gonna be a change, that's for sure. It's gonna be a change. We got a call of a guy that had a handgun and he actually stuck it to the girl's head inside the apartment, and there was a disturbance. Probably 30 minutes into it, he actually opens the front door up on the apartment. He's got a backpack on, and then I'll never forget, in his left hand he's got a fishing pole and a dream catcher in his left hand, and he's holding that up. Well, he comes out and he kind of angles back towards the porch. He's probably 3 feet outside of the door. We're giving him commands, you know, show your hands, this and that. And he's not listening to us. He's not dropping anything, and we can't see his right hand. And we already know he's got a gun, you know, from the witness and from us seeing it through the window. So at that point, you know, it was a bad situation. I knew that, you know, that at any moment this guy could either start shooting at us. You know, we're in an apartment complex. He could start shooting at the people, you know, that were out in the apartment complex. And at that point, I made the decision to send Justice to apprehend him. You know, at least to just be that game changer where, you know, now he's focused in on the dog, and, you know, we can take him into custody because he's obviously not compliant at this point and he's an immediate danger. So I send Justice, and as Justice runs up, Justice ends up engaging him on his leg. And I can personally tell you that being bit by them and bit by him, because I was, everything else in the world just stops and you only worry about that dog. And that's what we want we want that pain compliance. So as soon as he engaged on his leg, the guy actually spun around, dropped the dream catcher and stuff, and started focusing in on Justice. But at the same time, he did have the gun in his right hand, and he threw the gun up against the wall next to the door. We ran up, ended up taking him into custody. You know, he was charged with it, and you know, what I really thought at the time, and it's a horrible thing to say, but, you know, our other officers and citizens' lives are in danger at that time, and we have to use every resource we can to make us safe and make the citizens safe. And sending Justice possibly to his death, knowing that guy was armed, I had to make that decision. And it worked out, and no one was injured other than him. And we all went home, and everybody went back in their apartments that night. But it could have ended with him turning around, shooting at us, which we would have ended up returning fire, and Justice is already up there with him, and more than likely Justice is going to get struck too. Or he could have turned around and shot Justice when he engaged on him. And you know, I knew that was a possibility in my mind, but I had to make that hard decision. And, you know, it worked out, and, you know, he's still here with us. And, you know, those are the decisions that we have to make as canine handlers is, yes, these dogs are with us, 99% of our time, they're always with us at work, they're with us at home. The only time they're really not with us is when we go out to eat or something. We're gonna have to make that decision one time to put them, in a bad spot where they could be injured or they could be hurt, but ultimately they're there to keep us safe and to keep the citizens safe. I feel like I've peaked in this job, and everybody wants to move up in their career and their job, but I couldn't imagine doing anything else in law enforcement that's been so rewarding, than being a canine handler, and obviously being, the handler of justice, because, I feel like I hit the lottery when I got him, because he's turned out to be such a great dog, and he's done everything that I've ever asked. He's amazed me, and, he's loving, he's great at home, he's great in every aspect that you need him to be in a police, in a police canine. And, that's one of the other reasons I didn't want to take another dog, is because I don't want to always compare that dog to him. I want to enjoy the last month that he has with me and go from there, and then, pass the reins on to somebody else. We have 300 and something police officers at this department. We have 8 patrol canine positions, and, it's time for somebody else to get that chance and go out there and experience what I have, because, it's something that I'll remember till the day I die doing this.
Canine Justice will soon be living the life of retirement, but like many retired cops, we know he will be at home dreaming about catching bad guys. We hope the next canine to join our department will give us years of service, just like Justice did.
Well, that wraps up this episode. Remember to lock your vehicles each time you leave it and hide your belongings. Don't give thieves an easy target.
Make sure to follow GPD on Facebook or Twitter, or connect with us at GainesvillePD.org, where you can make suggestions on what you'd like to see featured on a future episode.
We hope you enjoyed your time with us today. We'll see you again next month for another episode of Police Beat. He is a canine. That's a good boy.
He's like, I'm in my retirement stage. Yeah. I'm ready to run.
So, you're driving along when you spot those flashing lights on a vehicle stopped up ahead. Could be a patrol car, an ambulance, or a tow truck. Do the right thing. Move over or slow down to 20 miles per hour below the posted speed limit. When any sort of emergency vehicle or tow truck is off to the side of the road with its flashers on, give them room. It's not just smart, it's the law. And not doing it could cost you some hard-earned cash. Fail to move over or slow down and there could be a ticket coming your way. Florida's Move Over law is designed to keep you and our emergency workers safe on Florida roadways. When you see an emergency vehicle or tow truck stopped ahead with its flashing lights on, approach with caution. Change lanes away from the emergency vehicle as long as it's safe, or slow way down to 20 miles per hour below the speed limit. Hey, these folks are out there looking out for you, so you look out for them too, will ya? All you gotta do is move over a lane to give them some space, or slow down if you can't change lanes. So move over, Florida. It's the law. Help keep Florida's roadways safe for everyone by moving over or slowing down when emergency vehicles have their lights flashing on the side of the road. Move over, Florida. A message from the Florida Highway Patrol, paid for by the Florida Department of Transportation.